I think there's this lovely calmness about the work itself. Like if you don't try and overwork it, if you don't try and overthink it, and you're just present, then whatever needs to be revealed will be revealed. And that's the gold for the client. So they come in, as you said, not necessarily knowing exactly what they're looking for. They might be unsure about what's going to happen to them. You know, it feels like something, what's this group of people sitting in a circle going to do to me, maybe? And then they have that really revealing, interesting, sometimes confronting, confusing, whatever needs to kind of be revealed is. And time again, we'd see clients go, but how did that happen? How could they know? How would that, there was sort of a bit bemused and confused by it. And at the same time, also going away with some really rich insights. I think that resonance, that truth that comes through is it opens them up to, okay, well, this really is something I recognise. And, as you said, beautifully externalised, so I don't have to try and figure it all out in here. And then whatever emerges has a lot of credibility because it's true to what they recognise.
Then that paves the way for whatever acceptance or acknowledgement that needs to happen for it to move forward. Because I think an important part of the work is that although it's gentle from the client's point of view in terms of their making the meaning from it, that the work also doesn't avoid a bit of tension and bringing things to the boil and going into where is the problem or the stuckness in order to see it for what it is and acknowledge it. What I've noticed is that this work is the most useful when there is a degree of stuckness, when there is a degree of I've tried this, and it's still not shifting. That's often when a little flag goes up and goes, well, then it might be something that's unseen. It might be something that is system-wide that is showing up in the symptom, but the underlying cause is not so visible. And all of the logical pathways that should work aren't working. That's when I kind of often hear, there might be something underneath this, and a systemic lens could bring those invisible elements to the surface.
What never ceases to amaze me is that after the constellation is set up and you've got people representing the different elements of those systems, and when they start to report back what they're experiencing, that shift for the client then really starts to kick in. Because then what you're seeing, the client's going, well, hang on, how do they know?
How do they know? And I think that question, we've seen Sarah ask a lot, is this the right movie?
Yes.
That's the question, because they go, goodness, yes.
Yeah, and it might be, mannerisms or movements or sensations that the representatives are, expressing or feeding back to the constellation facilitator.
Yeah.
That is so powerful because it's like, it makes it real for the client. And so then they're really engaged and actually able to look at what's going on within the constellation.
I think probably the very first constellation I walked into, because I was so sceptical, I think I was saying to everybody, how could this work? How could you come into a system and pick up on the energy of the system and understand the dynamics? So
I like that because it kind of suggests that you can have all the questions, you can have all the skepticism, you can even kind of go, well, I'm not sure where this is coming from, but it can still give you a benefit. You can still get another level of insight or observation because you're doing all the meaning making. And that was the most fascinating bit for me working yesterday is I didn't have to know, I didn't have to pry, I didn't have to be an expert in you or your life. I just had to do my job, holding the space and moving all the dynamics into a healthy relationship. And the actual shift happened inside you as the observer of that. That was the bit that was like, wow.
Yeah.
And I think that's the dignity of working in this way is that it doesn't come from a place of we know better. I thought it was fascinating that when the client came in the piece of work that we did yesterday, there was a lot of certainty about where the problem in the issue, where the issue lay in the organisation, and it was a little bit of this, like,
wasn't it?
It's this person and how they're showing up, and it's the organisation's fault. And what was so fascinating was how across the arc of the work, seeing how all the different elements, including himself, was interacting within that organisation. the client was able to very peacefully and without somebody telling him what to do, shift his thinking into that realization that it's actually part of the issue is how I'm showing up. And so over the course of one piece of work to go from a finger pointing, blaming perspective to a personal responsibility, personal accountability perspective was an incredible thing,
wasn't it,
to see, and to do so in a way where the client was going, yes, that's true, yes, I agree with that, and just the uncanny way in which the behaviour and the words of the representatives who knew nothing about the original issue resonated and clicked and were relevant for the client in a way that allowed their thinking to progress. That was fascinating to observe.
I agree.
It's always fascinating to see, particularly people who have a corporate background, come into an environment like this and, watch that shift in mindset, or as they allow themselves to move more into the experience of it.
Yeah, and I wonder whether I don't know if allow themselves is the word, because you see them come in, they're very formal, they're very robust, I'm the boss here, fix the problem type thing, and then they get involved in the work, and I think the work almost takes them over without them knowing it, because they start the work and you can see this, would it be skepticism, uncertainty, and it just dissolves. But I don't know if they've made a conscious choice at that point. I think it just takes over them.
I understand that really what it is a metaphor, and it's a visual metaphor using people, objects, if you're using objects, to map out outside of yourself what for most of us is going on inside of ourselves. And so it's when we're in a situation, whether it's an organisational situation or a career development situation, and we can't see the forest for the trees, what's amazing about having the representatives stand up just as placeholders for the dynamics is it almost doesn't matter what they say or do. Just seeing it outside myself means that I can kind of see how everything's relating to one another, even just from the point of view of I've placed them there. Why have I placed them there? More than a line of theory or a mantra. It's actually an image that lands in the whole body and the whole system.
Yeah, which is where real change comes from too, don't you think? It doesn't come from here. It actually comes from the enactment of what's going on here. When that's clear, then the body goes into action and movement and affect, effect. I love that. I love that.
What I found so powerful too is that sense of, the body's intelligence.
Yes.
So it's almost putting the body in first place, and that somatic awareness.
Yes, and that's you talk about that, and that's that challenge to get them out their head.
Yeah.
And often people are thinking a lot, but once we go past that and get them into that, the information they get. But also, I think as when we're representing, it's quite amazing what comes.
Part of our training is to drop our judgment. So I think from a client's point of view, you come into a room full of people who have no expectations, who have no judgment, who are truly in service of revealing whatever needs to be revealed. And that's such a remarkable thing to experience. Most of where we go, all day, every day, we're being compared and judged, and there's a lot of discernment going on. All those things might be relevant and useful elsewhere, but for this, it's really profound to just drop all of that and actually see things as they are, and be open and warm and compassionate to whatever's there, even if it is hard stuff to see, but to be able to see it in a new perspective.